Hey, just a little message before we get started. I offer one-on-one coaching to women for breakup recovery and dating. So if you're interested, just send me an email at tracie@tphtherapy.com. That's TRACIE at tphtherapy.com. And let me know if you're interested and I can give you information. We can hop on a very brief call to see what your needs are, either around dating and or breakup recovery. And I'm really excited to help you on your journey. Hey, I'm Tracie Pinnock, and welcome to the Bitter to Better podcast, where I talk all things love and life that help women live better after breakups. I'm glad you're here, and let's get into it. Hello. Excuse my morning voice. I'm recording this the morning after returning from Portsmouth, Rhode Island and Newport, Rhode Island with my mom and my boys because we took a trip together. And that is the subject matter of this episode today, which is, we call it a trip. When the kids go, we call it a trip, not a vacation. And I will explain why and talk about, how important it is and how wonderful it is to create these memories with your children, but also to recognize the difference between a trip and a vacation, and why also having your adults only trip is key so that you can actually have a vacation and get that rest and relaxation that we are oftentimes aiming for when we say we're going on vacation. So me, my two boys, and my mom stayed 3 nights in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, and we spent a day in Newport. We have tried to make this kind of an annual thing to have me, my mom, and my boys go somewhere fairly local, meaning we can drive to it, just for a little summer vacay. In the past, Cape Cod has been a location. It's one of my favorite places to visit. And so we had a great time. And we also had, the times that one has when they have children with them. So for me, some of the key aspects of this were the fact that, when we arrived on Friday, we needed to go grocery shopping. I had packed a bunch of food, what I could, but there were also some things that we needed to pick up once we got there. So I was hangry grocery shopping, which is the worst type of grocery shopping you can do. It's already bad enough to be hungry or a little peckish when grocery shopping because you come out of the store with all sorts of wild things. But I was also hangry. I was so hungry and had, my children with me and was doing this. And funny enough, usually when I go to the grocery store with my toddler, my 4-year-old, I put him in the cart so that he's more contained. I didn't even think to do that in this case, and I think it was because of my mind. We were running in really quickly to get a few things or running out. So I had him actually walking with me the whole time, which overall he did great. Did he crawl and roll on the floor a couple of times? Yes. And, that oftentimes comes with the territory. But for the most part, he really kept it together throughout the grocery store journey. It wasn't bad until we got to the ice cream aisle at the end of our trip. And honestly, this was a lapse in my mom judgment because we had initially gone through the aisle and he hadn't really noticed what was there. And that was great. But then we needed to circle back around. My mom was insistent on getting ice cream, which was a big hit with all of us. But that last time we walked through the aisle, I totally should have just taken him to a different aisle, let my mom and my oldest son pick out the ice cream and then meet them at the register. But I did not. So my youngest son saw the ice cream and started losing his shit because he's used to having the ice cream that comes in the tubs. We were looking at ice cream sandwiches, and I was explaining to him, this is ice cream, we'll have this, and he was losing it. The whole tantrum, falling to the floor, making a ruckus, all that good stuff. And so I got the car key from my mom and left my mom and my oldest son at the register and took my youngest son to the car to do that whole situation. So that was a good time. Later on, my mom told me that the cashier was saying how, oh, she's such a good mom. She took him, to the car. A lot of parents will just stand here, and it's hard for everyone involved, the kid, them, everyone else. And I don't know, I'm like 50-50 on that one, because I'm like, yep, it's inconvenient. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes a yelling, screaming child, but also like to have to feel like I have to take my child out of the situation because they're being a child. Welcome, humans. We've all been here. You used to do it too. To feel pressure to do that, I also don't think is fair. We're not in an adults only space. We're not at the spa. So we're just gonna all have to deal with it. Children are in grocery stores and they don't necessarily run on our schedule and our agenda. So there's also that. I'm not shaming parents for having kids being kids. I appreciate the people who can just like most of the people just ignored it because they've had some experience with children in some way, it seems. And it's kind of like, yeah, people, we're just gonna all like, the faster we get these groceries rang up, the faster I'm gonna get myself out of here, because I guarantee you this day is not a good time for me either. But nonetheless, it all worked out. And so we got back to the Airbnb that we were staying at in Portsmouth. And at some point during that evening, I found myself hiding from my children to eat an Oreo ice cream sandwich. I literally, there was this little, enclosed back porch area of the house. And I was just kind of out there peeking around the door. At one point, my mom saw me. And I was like, yeah, shh, don't let them know. So things like that, shenanigans like that were happening because, I was on a trip with my children. So, I can't, actually fully eat in peace, or if I'm having a snack or dessert that I do not want them to have at that moment, I might have to hide it. Good times, good times. Then we made some dinner. I was scarfing down my dinner as my toddler was hanging off of me at different points. Just generally parenting. Stop that. Don't do that. Here, do this instead. Sit down here. All that good stuff. My youngest in particular really likes to keep his shoes on. He likes that feeling or whatever it is. So he was flipping out when I tried to take his shoes off. So then I put them back on because choose your battles, my friends, choose your battles. So, and then also when I changed him into his pajamas, he was very upset about part of his pajama pants missing because I make the, winter pajamas into summer pajamas by cutting off the arms and legs. Pro tip. And so I had done that with this pair of pajamas, and I guess he was shocked and appalled when he realized that part of his pajamas was gone, and he had not approved that decision. So he had a little moment over that, but then we got over it. And then that night, lo and behold, was there a whole other bed and a sofa bed in the house? Yes. But did both of my children sleep in the bed with me? Absolutely. Because why would they not? So my mom slept in one bed and my children slept in the other, because when you bring the kids, it's a trip. Okay. Do you like what you're hearing? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Want to help the pod? If so, please know it's greatly appreciated, and I welcome you to support the Bitter to Better podcast however you can. Might I suggest a few options? First, please rate and review the show on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or whatever platform you choose. Next, how about sending this podcast to one friend who you know could use it? This way, she can't say you've never given her anything. If you're really riding with me, talk about the show on social media and tag me. I'm at Tracy Panak on Instagram. And lastly, if you ever use any products or services I mention in the pod, can you tell them Tracy Panak from the Bitter to Better podcast sent you? Please and thank you. All of these sort of things get in the way. But nonetheless, we had a great time at the beach. There was a good old usual, so Dorian got a little upset towards the after we got out of the water and stuff, because, the sand is on you. It feels icky. I don't think anyone really likes that. But he has some particular sensory sensitivities. And so I think it really distracts him and gets to him when there's like sand on his feet and things like that. So I had to do my best to try to get as much sand off as possible. But of course there's salt and sand, and we're getting specks of sand in our food, and it's a beach adventure, just go with it. Know what you're getting into. So we did that, had a good time, got home. The next day, Sunday, we went to Newport, Rhode Island, and it was beautiful as to be expected. That was my first time in Newport. And we went to a restaurant, and we were late for our reservation. The only table they had was a high top table, so pretty much bar stools type chairs. So putting a 4-year-old in a high top chair is a good time. So there was lots of sit down, be careful, you're gonna fall, no, get back up. At one point they had a live band playing, and so my youngest was very intent on getting to that area, so we walked over there for a bit. He stood there and listened, and then once he did that, he was over that, so that was nice. He got to get his fill, and then it just continued to be, don't eat that, don't get down from there, get back up, all of that. So again, because when we bring the kids, it's a trip, and we ate. It was a good meal, and then we returned home. And there had been a point, so the Airbnb, they gave us a $25 gift card to a restaurant nearby, kind of upscale restaurant. And this was another adjustment, with having kids with us. I had initially booked a reservation for the restaurant, and then I was like, oh, the chances of sitting my children down here and having this meal as stress-free as possible, not disturbing other diners, et cetera, because again, it wasn't a casual place. I was like, no, how about we just, here's another pro tip, just order and pick up. So that's what we did. It was cool to be able to use the gift card to get some food. So we put in an order, and we went and picked it up and returned to the house, where my mom and I had a seafood pasta, and the kids had pasta with butter. And we were all able to enjoy our meals. So these are just the type of things that come up when you bring the kids on a trip, where you can have a great time and create wonderful memories, but also it's not the most relaxing experience. And it's, and that's okay. But I think it's important to know what you're going into and to frame it appropriately, so that you can also be intent on making time and space to have an actual vacation and be able to relax and indulge in the things you want to indulge in. And so that, of course, takes planning and effort and time. As a mom, a lot of things can tend to get in our way of just doing a trip for ourselves, whether it's just by ourselves or it's with friends. But my point being, without our children, of course, there can be concerns around, being able to get proper, appropriate childcare. You can have your fears about leaving your children with someone else. You can have mom guilt about going somewhere without them. There can be financial constraints, scheduling, all sorts of things that can get in our way. So I'm not saying it's always easy, but I am saying that it really serves us to be intentional about looking at it as, okay, this is my trip with my kids, which is an important experience, but not counting that as, the vacation bucket. And I guess let me back up here and say, obviously having a toddler, that makes a big difference. So if you feel like, your kids, are older and going on the trip with them is truly a vacation because it really is truly relaxing, that's one thing. But there's something to be said for the fact that if you're doing any parenting at all, then it's not the most relaxing, because parenting naturally comes with stressors. Truly, at the very heart of parenting is your concern about keeping these children alive and well. That might not be what's actively at the front of your mind at every single moment, but ultimately that is your job. And so, it's a big job. It's a big job. And so, arguments can be made for how completely stress-free one can be when they are on the clock for that happening. So with that, I just really like to, for myself, make it a point to have trips with my kids to create memories and to bond. and to give them and myself experiences, but also to have vacations for myself. It is very important to have both for me. So this was just my little recap of our trip and, the things that come along with it, the whole process. We didn't even talk about car ride stuff, which went well overall for us. Especially my youngest son, he tends to really enjoy a good car ride. I think the motion, again, with sensory things, like that's very calming for him. So he generally is just very quiet and very awesome in the car. My oldest son has his Switch to keep him nice and entertained for a couple of hours. And I am in the process of potty training my 4-year-old. So, we put a pull-up on during the car ride, that's for sure. Although we were doing underwear while we were actually there in the house. And that was also another part of it. He was doing very well for the most part with going to the potty. He didn't poop on himself, not once. He peed on himself multiple times, depending on what he felt like doing. So, there was that whole process. But yeah, when we take the kids, it's a trip. And I really encourage you to have those experiences with your children, but to also make time for a vacation for yourself, because being a human is stressful. Being a human who's recovering or rebuilding from any sort of breakup is, even more stressful than being a human who's recovering or rebuilding from a breakup and trying to date, even more stressful. Oh, wait, and then being a human who's recovering or rebuilding from breakups and trying to date and parenting children is the ultimate. So this is my suggestion to you to have your trips with your kids, but to also have some vacations. Hey, by the way, I can be found in other places besides this podcast. Just search my name on YouTube and you'll find my channel. Subscribe for periodic how-to videos for dealing with breakups and mastering dating. That's right, I said mastering dating. It's a skill, ladies. I can also be found on Instagram at Tracy Panak. And lastly, I most encourage you to join my email list where you get breakup and dating support delivered to your inbox, in addition to getting the most exclusive access to my programs and coaching services. My email list subscribers are the first to know when my coaching programs launch and the only people to get discounts when they're offered. As always, I'm glad we got into it and looking forward to next time.